Okay, I'm calling our January 3rd, 2018 first board meeting of the new year to order. Commissioner Murdoch, would you lead us in the pledge?
Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, this meeting is public. I thought we only had, we're down to standing room, but there are some chairs back there. Also, please sign in on the attendance sheet if you have not done so. Please do that. We have awards and recognitions. Commissioner Elfring?
First, let me make note of a letter we received addressed to the roadmaster. So this letter is to commend you on and the road department on the snow plowing service in connection with your series of snowstorms leading up to Christmas weekend. Though there was no plowing after the initial storm of 4 to 5 inches, the snow was plowed a couple of days before the big storm on the night of December 22nd. Then on the morning of the 23rd, Saturday, when we looked out at about 10 inches of new snow, the county plow came by 10:30 a.m. And that's on a busy holiday weekend. So, Tom Fellows, take that word back to your group that they are very much appreciated, especially in this time. I've got also.
Before we do that, do we have a new snowplow?
Well, it's new to us.
Was it used in the?
Oh, yeah.
Oh yeah, I thought so.
Yeah, but
Yeah, it didn't even have a license on it yet, and we were using it. So.
make sure that goes on the public record.
we did have permits, but
Well, the next item is always a pleasure. It's the employee of the quarter to be able to recognize a person who is highly regarded by the county and by their department. And I want just to read, I guess I'm going to probably tip it off here right away because I'm going to read the citation that was done by the department. The Umatilla County Employees Excellence Committee was created to acknowledge and commend the efforts of employees who serve the citizens of the county efficiently and effectively, part of our motto, with a focus on professional development and outstanding customer service. In that spirit, the committee wishes to share with you the nomination letter from her peers that warranted this recognition and a congratulations. It says, Anna is a very important part of the county corrections team, community corrections team in Hermiston. Anna works at the front desk, manages all the POs, and those are the parole and probation officers out there, handles the P&P clients, parole and probation clients, with dignity and respect, even in the face of diverse, aggressive, and at times dangerous criminals. Anna's contribution to the parole probation officers in the Hermiston office extends far more than her role as a clerical person. Anna completes her clerical duties and then volunteers her time to assist each one of the PPOs by filling paperwork, putting together and maintaining files, contacting PPOs in the field via telephone and for their return to see clients and when conducting home visits. And to make sure the PPOs have everything needed to conduct daily business, for example, intake packets, community service packets, personal history packets, as well as maintaining the UA lottery and supervising community service clients when they work in the office. In turn, the PPOs want to make sure that Anna's needs are met, as she is an integral and most appreciated part of this West County team, and we want her to know that her presence and knowledge are irreplaceable. Further, Anna has taken on special projects such as creating a petty cash fund for occasional special occasions, birthdays, academy graduations, and so on, as well as having set up the process of purging old files and organizing the Hermiston office immigration, SO, expired, abscond files for the West End County. And it is the first face that clients meet when entering the Umatilla County Community Justice, and she always greets people with a courteous smile and a professional manner. She is knowledgeable and willing to help people. I just want to ask if maybe I could have her services for a couple days a week. She does amazing things. So It is with pleasure that we announce that Anna Mendoza is our employee of the quarter. And if you would come up, I'd love to share some things with you.
They brought me with.
How they suck you
They
in?
usually do.
That's been really good.
Sorry, one more.
This is your certificate.
Melinda, you want to tie
Yeah,
those together?
Excellence.
Yeah, they can.
And here are some extra things that are awarded that comes along with it. We used to have a parking space for the employee of the month or the quarter. But that parking space probably wouldn't help you at the courthouse too much, and it's no longer on there. But it says you've been awarded 8 hours of paid time off. Just get prior approval before using the voucher. Return the voucher right to your name and so on. We've been done with that. So you can have that. And a copy of your commendation. Again, Anna, congratulations.
Thank you.
So much for the audience.
Did you want this back?
Okay, so do we really need to put off the public?
I don't know who's.
I'm going to go ahead with public comment. I think we can keep it real brief.
Yeah.
Okay, do we have any minutes that we need to
No, we do not.
approve? So those are not ready yet. Additions to the agenda?
I don't know that you want that added, the refinance. Yeah, there will be one addition regarding refinancing of a public works fund loan.
Okay.
I think that's item 11. It's not on the one I have.
Yeah, no, that's the
This is
finance
the current
position.
one. Yeah.
So this will be number 12.
Yes.
There were 12 on there. Would we cut on this one, Doug?
It's the finance addition is an added item. So we just added it. So we actually, yeah.
Okay,
Okay.
so I'm okay.
Okay, this is a point in time in the meeting where we have the public input. Those, if you do not have an item that's up on the agenda that you're going to speak to, this is a point in time for the public to come forward and speak to the board about an item that is not on the agenda. We would ask, because we do have a long agenda today, that you limit the comments to no more than 5 minutes, and that's quite a lot of time for some people to have to speak. Anyway, so with that, no, I did not look at you, Phil. Okay, so
Should have.
public comment, and I would ask that you recognize, introduce yourself if you are making a comment, address and name. And okay, hearing none. Our business items. We have the appointment for the new year 2018 chair and vice chair, and we have an order for that.
We do order BCC 2018-001. And for the public record, let me state that normally we have a rotation of these positions. It would have been normally my year to rotate in as chair, however, due to some plans that we have and some of the things that we're involved in deeply in economic development, I asked to step out of that rotation for this year and step back in and be back in next year. So I will continue as the vice chair, and Commissioner Murdoch will move up from
Nowhere.
nowhere and become the chair. So with that in mind, Mr. Chair, I would move approval of order BCC 2018-001.
Second. Any discussion? Okay, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Can I vote? Aye.
Yes. And then we'll switch the deck chairs here in a minute. You are it.
Bloodless. A bloodless coup.
We don't want to get confused.
It would be confused otherwise, wouldn't it?
I don't get confused, just the senior commissioners get confused. I went right over your head.
Hey, wait a minute.
Yeah, well, I am the junior. All right. Thank you, Commissioner Gibbons, for your service, and we will move on. Item number 2 on the agenda is the extension service. Public hearing this morning. My wife said, "Good heavens, you're wearing that orange and black outfit again." I said, "This is the second and final hearing with the extension service, and I will never wear it again." So, with that, we'll open the hearing. Council, who's going to speak?
Hi, Deb Glover. Wait,
Deb, if you'd come up.
you want me up there now?
Well, so who's going to present initially? Do we have any?
Well, I can a little bit.
Well, let's start with the council and then we'll go there.
Staff report.
Okay, this is the second scheduled public hearing for the proposed new extension district. By statute, at this point, the proposed boundaries of the district have been established. This is just the opportunity for public comment one last time before the board takes any official action on referring the matter to the voters for election.
Okay, with that, anyone who wishes to speak in favor of this action, we would ask that you would come forward to the microphone, identify yourself and your address, and then you're free to speak. So, Deb, there you go.
I'm Deb Glover from Western Oregon, and I'm here to talk about the greatness, wonderful things that happen through 4-H. I started 4-H on the end of a lead strap of a very stubborn Holstein heifer. 2 white ribbons later, I was hooked. Jumped back in, and my kids got involved. For 35 years now, I've been a leader in Umatilla County. Things that I've seen the look on a child's face when they have completed a sewing project. They glow. I did this all by myself. Aren't I wonderful? This looks great. I judge. A little gal made me peanut or chocolate chip cookies one year. She brings the cookies, makes them just wonderful, puts them in the oven, sets the timer, starts washing dishes. Timer goes off. She looks in the oven, looks at me, sets up your timer, goes back and washes some more dishes, goes to the oven, looks in the oven, looks at me, sets the timer a 3rd time. Comes back, washes dishes, and then all of a sudden timer goes off, she goes to the oven, shrugs her shoulders, brings me the plate or the tray of cookies, and I have a cookie the size of the cookie sheet, all goo. And she looks at me, she says, I think I messed up. And I looked at her and I said, sweetheart, we all mess up. Let's figure out what happened. And so she and I problem solved on what could have happened with these cookies. And we came up with some solutions. And on the way home, I'm thinking, that little gal spent 1 hour of her time doing a life skill of problem solving what went wrong, where she could have been at home playing on a Game Boy or watching TV. So that was a 4-H thing for her. Just recently, I watched a young man in a show ring. He had been an excellent showman with his species. He's now in with his cantankerous pig. The most ranked thing in the barn is sitting on the fence screaming. This young man is working and working and working, trying to get this pig in the center of the ring. It's not going. Tears are streaming down his face when he was saved by the 10-minute bell. He got the lead. He didn't win, but he'll be back next year because he's an excellent showman. And hopefully, he will get a pig that will work for him. I talked to him afterwards. He said his favorite pig was the BLT. He got that day at lunch. 4-H is all-inclusive. If you're out for a sport, the best get to play. The other kids sit on the end of the bench, or they are excluded. 4-H you don't exclude, with the exception of there's not enough leaders. If you're interested in becoming a leader, I can hook you up. We also, though, I have seen a young man in a wheelchair show a sheep. His smile would have lit up this room. I watched a young man who cannot remember which pig is his, who could have, because of balance issues, could not safely show a pig. And I had kids right at fighting him, or fighting each other, to help him in the show ring. The cooperation we get in the 4-H is not something they learn just on every day walking the streets. It happens at the fair, it happens in 4-H meetings. And my favorite is a young man who, about 12 years ago, I decided in my club, we are not going to just show animals. We're going to do something more than that. We are going to do talking. We're going to do some speaking. So I told all the kids, you are going to do a presentation this year. So this young man comes to a 4-H meeting, big box of bicycle parts, because that's what his presentation was going to be on. He digs this box out and he goes, this is a wheel. This is the handlebars. This is the chain. And this is a sprocket. His presentation was bad, totally bad. He'll tell you to this day, it wasn't good. He did that presentation at County Fair. He did another one the following year at County Fair, and he kept doing them. He kept getting better. By about his 8th year in 4-H, he was asked by the state 4-H committee to come and coach the ambassadors going to the national conference. He gave a speech at the national conference. He also has planned and ran a national conference on the 4-H level. He has spoke to congressmen at the national level about 4-H. This young man is now in college back east, and his parents feel that he probably would not have made it without his 4-H experience, the growth that he got through 4-H. He would probably be appalled listening to me talk today because he is just that type of a kid. He's a great young man. And I look at kids that we've had in 4-H, I look at the kids that I'm involved with in 4-H, and they're an awesome bunch of kids. There are kids who want to be in, and they can't do it again because of their vision. But I think 4-H has probably built more character in children in this area than probably any other activity you could have put them into. And I want to close with a thing that's not on the 4-H piece, but still extension. I'm a person that kind of dives in and halfway down realizes I can't swim. And so now what am I going to do? And a couple of years ago I decided I needed blueberries. I really like blueberries. And so I got online, I ordered all these blueberries, and they came in, and I'm so excited. I opened the box and, oh dear, what do I do with these things? Well, luckily I have a dear friend that is a gardener. So I give her a call and I said, okay, can you help me with my blueberries? And the first comment out of her mouth was, I hate blueberries. Well, all right, can you help me keep them alive? And so for 2 years, this friend has worked with me and managed to keep my blueberries alive. So I'd like to introduce Carol Mills, a master gardener, who has so far kept my blueberries alive.
And I still don't like blueberries. Yes, they're good for you. I'm Carol Mills. I live in Adams. I've been a 4-H leader for nearly 40 years. I have had both sheep and sewing clubs. 8 years ago, I took some training, something a little bit different from my 4-H, even though I still continue on with that. The training I took was offered by Extension, and I completed classes to be Master Gardener. Otherwise, I wouldn't have answered her questions. I had a growing interest in insects and was offered classes on insect ID and pinning. Then I was offered a position working at OSU, Hermiston, the Herrick Station, in the entomology lab. After 4 years of fun, pinning bugs, yeah, I like that. Some of us are different. I decided to retire as the 85 miles a day was getting a bit hard on me, plus the 8 hours that I was working at Herrick. Now I go to schools and libraries, teaching children about good and bad bugs. The one thing I've learned about volunteering for 4-H and Master Gardeners is this continual learning experience, and I get this from all the great help I have received from Extension. The learning experience for the kids and for me, even though I'm an old bat. Thank you.
Others?
believe Phil's not going to talk.
Well, this is the one who drove the farthest. I know.
Okay.
Good morning. My name is Tom Beechner, and I reside in Walla Walla. My family came into the Walla Walla Valley in 1863 and homesteaded, and we have ground in Umatilla County. And I wanted to share for just a second the effect that cooperative extension has had on my family. My great-great-grandfather came before extension, but my great-grandfather used extension in a couple of different ways. One, to try and understand why his herd of 100 sows were dying, and extension helped him diagnose hog cholera and to put into place various things to help him reduce the damage to the rest of his hogs that hadn't already succumbed. He also was a leader, kind of an early adopter, you might say, and started feeding feeding cattle grain when it was still appropriate to raise them for 2 years on grass-fed and send them to Portland to market. And so he used extension to try and determine how much grain he could feed and that type of thing. We move on to my grandfather, who in the fire of 1958 outside of Walla Walla, a lot of our rangeland was burned up, and he used extension to try and understand what grass mixes that he could use and application rates and that type of thing in order to prevent erosion on the property, and also have a palatable grass mix that our livestock could use in future years of grazing. In my particular case, my wife and I used the work that Randy Mills did in Umatilla County and Devon Knutson in Walla Walla County in feeding futurities, where we put our steers into futurities to better understand the quality of the steer that we were producing, the carcass characteristics, and how we might change that. And then more recently, my wife and I have become master woodland managers through OSU's forestry extension, and we took our classes in La Grande, and we have really appreciated the opportunity to now give that information and that type of thing to other small woodland owners. And today, as we speak, we have grandchildren who are going to college, in part because of money that they earned from their livestock 4-H projects that they sold through the fairs over the years. And so I would say that extension is still extremely relevant through the generations, and that we need a continued funding source that is that can be counted on, so that we can have the research, the 4-H, and the extension information that is given. And so we are, my family and a lot of families just like ours, are very supportive of this service district, and we appreciate your looking at this matter for us. Thank you very much.
I have a question, Mr. Beechner.
Okay.
Early on, your parents and grandparents probably worked very closely with Norton Taylor, who was the beef extension agent.
Yes, yes, that's
years.
correct. Yes, I have that in some of the family history that we put together, for sure.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Other proponents? Do we have any opponents?
My time?
Yep.
Good morning. My name is Lynn Avasat. I'm from Pendleton. And I applaud the 4-H programs as well as the extension agents and the master gardeners. However, I believe the end user needs to pay for these services. Maybe that's a paradigm change from what has happened in the past, but let me explain the rationale. Just like an attorney or any other expert, the rest of us need to pay for when we need them. I believe that farmers, homeowners, anybody need to pay for these expert services. Just like any other extracurricular activity families get their kids involved with, such as arts or recreation, they are, and only they should be responsible for funding these activities for their families and their kids. Few of us in towns, such as Hermiston and Pendleton, who are not rural, will be using these services. And I quite frankly don't think it's fair to keep asking us to keep funding these things that we are not personally using. I feel pretty strongly about that. I moved here from Portland. I believe the taxes here right now are far higher than Multnomah County. We're just saying a lot. This new tax will add another $50 to my taxes. And I'm already reeling from the $85 that I'm now paying for the next 20 years for a fire station here in Pendleton. And I know in Hermiston, the taxes are extremely high because of the school bonds. So in conclusion, and again, I feel like we need to change the model of these taxes. And the people that use them, the end users, are the ones that really need to be responsible for them. And in conclusion, I just want to remind people that our taxes continue to go up significantly in this county, but we are not seeing a commensurate increase in high-income jobs to pay for those. We have an awful lot of retirees in this county. We have a lot of people that are on welfare in this county. We have a lot of renters, and they're renters because they can't even afford homes, but their taxes, their rent will go up with an ongoing taxation. And this is just a part of the ongoing taxation we're all dealing with here. So I just want you to be cognizant of the fact that the tax burden is starting to become overwhelming on people in Umatilla County. Thank you.
Rebuttal.
Good morning, Claire Sponseller, County Leader with Cooperative Extension here for Umatilla County. I just wanted to clarify some facts for the record. Cooperative Extension was created and developed in 1911 by the Smith and Weaver Act. And with that, they dictated what our funding sources and how we should operate in each state and each county. So essentially at a federal level, they established that federal, state, and county or local dollars need to be contributed to provide cooperative extension services to each community. And so in order for that to happen, we need to provide continued community, county services. So with this, that's partly why we're going through the service district. Currently we're from the general fund. We're looking for the service district to move over to a more sustainable long-term funding source. For every $5 brought by federal, state, and grant funds through cooperative extension here in Umatilla County, comes back for every $1 provided for Umatilla County. So we have quite the leverage we bring back, but we are required to have that tiered level of funding sources for our communities, so we must have that local funding source. Thank you.
Other comment?
May I make a comment?
Yes.
Do I need to come up there?
Uh-huh.
One of the things that I think about a lot when I see these things come up is the amount of the taxation. This is 33 cents on 1,000, and for about 100. Anyway, it's starting to add up for folks. And so I guess my last comment would be, if something like this needs to be funded, make the request affordable for people. Because, like I said, once or twice a year, taxpayers are this is starting to snowball on taxpayers. And if they were smaller, then maybe they would be more acceptable. Thank you.
Before I close the hearing, any other public comment? All right, we'll close the hearing. Deliberation.
Okay, Thank you, Mr.
Let's put a
Chair.
historical note in the minutes that Phil Hom did not speak.
His shortest speech.
I would like, I could ask our county council to explain the legalities of what's going on, but I draw your attention to the very last paragraph in the order that's up here. The,
Are we going the right direction?
no,
Item
go back
6.
to the proposal, the
The very first page.
very first page on our order that we see, right there, right there. Following the hearing, the board may take action to approve the matter for referral to the electors. The county is not setting this tax amount. What the county is doing is referring this so that the citizenry has an opportunity to say, yes, we want this, or no, we don't want it because our taxes are too high. We hear a lot today about the democratic process and how skewed it is. Well, hopefully this isn't one of those processes that is taking the power away from our citizenry. If people feel that this is too much, then they will vote it down if the majority feels it's too much. If they don't, then they will pass it. And it seems like in today's society, our citizenry, if they don't get what they want, if the majority says this is what we want, but you were part of that minority, too many of our citizenry think that gives them the right to continue to fight and create problems. All the county is doing is allowing our citizenry to have a vote, to have a say in what's going on. For us to deny this, that would be the county taking away a little bit of the voice of the people. And I don't think that's what we should be doing, is denying our citizens a chance to have a voice. And that's what this does.
Let me say in that regard that, I'll ask county council to correct me if I'm wrong, but what we are doing today is forming the district and making it a legal entity that will exist within Umatilla County.
Actually, no.
No? Okay.
Because there is a permanent rate proposed, the statute requires the formation itself to be voted on.
Okay.
Yeah. So,
Because of the funding.
because of the funding.
Okay.
Yes.
So no funding is being approved by this, by our action today. That funding must be approved by the public.
Yes.
So, Mr. Chair, with that in mind, I would move approval of Budget Order BCC 2018-002.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. We approve.
That's actually not budget order.
What did I say, budget?
Yeah.
Adopt order number BCC 2018-002. Those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? All right. We'll move on to item 3, which is the purchase of a mower.
Good morning, Tom Phillips, Public Works Director. So, we're requesting the purchase of a mower attachment for one of our front-end loaders. This mower has been on our equipment replacement list for some time now, and we were just waiting for a good deal to come along, and we believe that we found it in this Diamond mower attachment. We currently already own a loader with adequate in the packet, you have some photos of what we're actually looking at. The other part of this, our current mower, the head is actually wore out on it, and we were contemplating replacing it. One of the, when I was going through what Diamond actually had on their, sitting on their floor, they were running a pretty good deal on a replacement head for about a third of what a new one costs. So that's part of this. We're asking to purchase the mower attachment for the loader, and then 2 heads, one for the new mower attachment, and then one for our existing mower.
Tom, we are continually having issues where we have growth along the side of our roads with brush and trees that we have to take care of. This is more for my colleagues. I do know that we've had continual problems with the old attachment that we're running.
We have had, and quite honestly, in our climate here in Umatilla County, we get enough periodic rain that chemical applications just can't possibly do everything that we need to do. You go out one day and spray chemical, and 2 days later you get a rainstorm, and what happens is you just get another flush of weeds that come back. I know people swear that we must be out fertilizing, but we're really not. We're spraying what's there. It's just that we really need these mowers to help keep things under control and keep some of the visibilities better along our roadsides.
And this is part of your capital outlay also.
Yes, and this like I said earlier, this machine has actually been on our approved list for a couple of years, and we just came across a good deal.
Is this one of those that goes sideways too? That it doesn't just mow flat, it mows?
Yeah, it'll mow just about any direction you want.
I've seen where along certain roadways where it has to go up this way to widen visibility.
Yeah, and this one's capable, the one we currently have is capable of doing that. But it is in such a state that it's costing us quite a bit to keep it operational.
Tom, what's the height of this that it can reach?
Well, it's got a 25-foot reach on it, but I don't know that will go, that's height-wise, because you got to take into account the radius of the arc. So, but it will reach 25 feet.
Okay.
Okay. Additional questions? Do we have a motion?
I would move approval.
Second?
Moved and seconded, we approve the purchase of the mower. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Is this next, is the hydraulic hammer yours too?
Yes,
Okay.
it is. This second item is a hydraulic hammer attachment for backhoe. This attachment has not been on our replacement list. It really wasn't something that we had identified until this year, and we happened to rent one for our backhoe. And it's come in quite handy. In fact, in the last 2 months, 3 months, we've spent a little over $1,000 on renting this attachment. Research shows that we can purchase a brand new one for around $14,000. My staff told me quite clearly that if they had one, they would use it much more often than what we currently are. So we're pretty confident that it's something that we would get our money out of. There are, and as luck would have it, there are a couple of manufacturers that are running some really good deals right now. So it seemed an opportune time to come to the board and ask permission to go out for an RFP for this attachment, and with the intent on coming back for possible purchase.
Tom, you may have mentioned it and I may have missed it, but what is the hydraulic hammer used for?
It's primarily a jackhammer on steroids because it attaches to a backhoe, and we use them for there's a number of rock outcroppings along our roads and things that we can get a little extra clearance on if we're using the ditch lines to get rid of the solid rock so that we can clean a ditch line and make it a little more functional. It's used both for visibility and safety purposes.
Does this work better than blasting?
It's not nearly much fun.
Okay.
Mr. Chair, I move approval of the request to request proposals for purchase.
Second.
Moved and seconded. We approve the purchase. All in favor say aye.
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 Okay.
Thank you.
Item number 5, purchase of a plotter.
Good morning, Commissioners. Dan Lanai, Administrative Services Director. This last budget year, we put $7,000 into the budget because we were having troubles with the current plotter that we have. We were hoping we wouldn't have to spend that money until next year. Well, halfway through it finally just died. So it is over $5,000. The money's in the budget. We went out for 3 bids, almost 6,500 from Office Max, almost 6,700 from CDW, and then SCW had it for 6,011 on their contract, so just a hair over $6,000. I recommend going with they're all the same plotter. Recommend going with the lease, the SCW, to replace the existing plotter, which we use to create the maps for the assessor department and other maps that are needed for elections. Different people that come in and request maps, printing out the, the plot maps for the records office. Utilize quite a bit. This printers a workhorse that they use, and we need to replace it. Currently, we do borrow the one from the planning department, but that works as only a backup. They would have the same issue too. If theirs died, we'd have this other one so that they can utilize ours if they have a problem.
Mr. Chairman, I move approval of the purchase of a new plotter for the GIS mapping department for $6,011.15 from SCW.
Second.
Before we vote, our GIS guru is here. Did she wish to speak?
Dan said it all, so.
Been moved and seconded. All in favor say aye. Aye.
I was just going to throw my support into it.
Thank you. All right. Item number 6, imagery intergovernmental agreement.
This is also for the GIS and mapping department. A lot of people, what this is aerial photos of the entire county. Basically, people will say, well, why don't you just use Google, because Google has all the aerial photos of the county. Problem we run into, Google only has the high resolution area photos of the urban areas. The non-urban, the rural areas are not of a high resolution. So when we're trying to create maps, or also the assessor's department trying to pick up where there may be new buildings or items out in the forested areas or the land areas, or what type of crops are growing there, we rely on these high-resolution aerial photos of the rest of our rural county. The Oregon Department, State Department, GIS Department is flying all those and has the aerial photos now, and we can go into a contract with them of $10,000 and purchase the complete aerials for or part of the contract, we would be able to use those aerials for the Umatilla County area. I think last time it was flown, it was quite a bit more costly for the county.
Yeah.
Was it the $40,000? I don't remember what we paid, but I know the CSEP paid for it several different times, and we're talking $30,000 to $40,000 range. So this going in the contract with the state GIS saves us quite a bit.
Dan, will this be available for folks if they want to go online and find out information about a specific area, take a look at, they can go online?
To the county website. Yeah.
Okay.
Well, the high resolution aerials would not be what they would be viewing, though. They would, online we use to Google imagery because these are so, just a section would take 30 minutes to download on somebody's computer because from over the internet, they're very high resolution images.
Okay.
So we would not actually have that, but we could produce maps for the public and we would sell maps for the public.
Okay.
And that. But we do have imagery where people can look up their tax lots and see the images on the county's website, but we're utilizing the Google imagery for that.
Now, I probably shouldn't ask this, but Paul, could you use this?
Absolutely,
And
David.
find out the data that, oh, somebody put a no permitted facility here.
That's one piece, but it also, I think the broader piece, from my perception, would be when circles get moved, what's irrigated, what's non-irrigated. A lot of times that doesn't get tracked internally.
Okay.
But having a resource like that would allow that to happen a little more readily. And otherwise, this is really a cost-effective means to do that. We've looked at using a third-party source to provide us with imaging, and it's way, way, way beyond this cost.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Any other questions?
Do you have a motion?
So moved.
Second?
Been moved and seconded. Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay, thank you. Move on to item 7. Is that yours also?
As part of our department, it's basic maintenance for the elevator here at the courthouse, which we're required to have in order to have an elevator, and since we have multiple floors, we have to have an elevator. And it's over the $5,000, it's $13,600 for.
Is this annual or biannual?
This is annual.
Annual. Okay, I would move approval.
Is there a second?
Second
Moved.
question.
Okay.
Is it not possible to get some kind of a service agreement over a multiple-year contract that would save money?
Jolene does the best that she can find, so this is the best deal that we can get. And we're kind of required, there's only limited entities that do that, and the type of elevator you have also dictates who you can use for service.
Thank you.
I trust ours isn't new.
Elevator?
I have to say we have less problems with one in this building than we do with the newer one in our other courthouse.
Which sings to you when the wind blows.
Yes.
All right.
There's a motion and a second.
Oh, yeah, right. I had a question. All right. All in favor say aye.
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 Aye. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Commissioners.
Item number 8, council. Do you want to present that, Bill?
I can talk about it because
Okay.
Economic Development's the most impacted department on this. It has to do with proposed legislative support of a bill to ensure that the 2.5% of dedicated video lottery funds reach all the counties. Under ORS 461.547, counties are supposed to receive that fund, and yet in the past few years, the legislature has gotten very used to suspending the statute and designating a fixed amount to come to the county. This new proposal that is being made to the legislature would stop that. There's no reconciling, there has been no reconciling of the amount that's been paid, whether it was more or less than should have been paid. Historically, it shows that we've been receiving less than we should have received if it would have been a straight 2.5%. So this supports the legislative action.
I would move approval.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Those in favor say aye.
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 Okay, passed unanimously. Item number 9, enterprise zone agreement.
Okay, this is coming before the board for approval. Previously, the board has approved the extension of the Hermiston Greater Enterprise Zone to include the area that is owned by Lamb Weston. Lamb Weston is in the process of adding a line and additional development to their property, and so they approached the county and the city of Hermiston to negotiate an extended abatement period for this property, and in lieu of property taxes, they will make a payment to the city of Hermiston and Umatilla County. and that proposed agreement is before the board for approval.
Questions? Comment?
Do you want to take any comment from the public?
Yes, if anyone in the public wish to speak. Rick? I'm going to make you come up and identify yourself.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for your time. My name is Rick Sherman for Hermiston. I'm the president of the Umatilla County Fire Board, Fire District Number 1, excuse me. Basically, I have a question, gentlemen, is that the money that will be paid by Lamb Weston to the county, have you decided yet how that is going to be spread out to different agencies?
To my knowledge, we've taken no action. No.
Okay. I'm going to speak again on the same that I said a couple weeks ago at the last board meeting. I realize that everyone that relies on property taxes is hurting because of the state taxing laws that were put in, and we all need things. But for Umatilla County Fire District Number 1, we are still striving to update our equipment and our abilities to provide services, coverage, and safety for the residents of our fire district. Lamb Weston is only one of several different entities that looks like they're going to either come in or enlarge their presence in the west side of our fire district. That is going to mean that we are probably going to have more needs for services from the fire district. That will probably mean that we're going to have to look at manning our fire station number 23. We're going to may have to look at additional equipment in that. Not because we're being greedy, but because we're going to need that to provide services for the people. And gentlemen, when you're considering how this is going to be split up, the money coming from Lamb Weston, I ask you to give very due consideration to the needs of our fire district. As I say, we're not the only ones that need things, but the better equipment we have, the more equipment, the better coverage by personnel, the better chance that we have of protecting properties, but more than that, the better chance of saving lives. And that's very important to us. Thank you, gentlemen, for your time.
Other comment?
Mr. Chair, I move approval.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay, thank you for your comment. Number 10, emergency management grant.
Was,
Well, Tom is not here. He is not here, but I can tell you that our emergency management director is very actively seeking grants to bolster his operation. And he primarily proposed or gave us information here so that we would know what he is pursuing. One grant is for $305,000, another one for $30,000 for completion of security systems, one for a pod runner and a 4-star self-contained mobile communication unit, and approximately $95,000 for 2 UTV, and he's going to have to tell you what those mean. But he's applying for grants and primarily wanted us to be aware there's no share grant, no commitment on our part to provide any funding in order to get these grants. They are straight outright 100% grants. So he's asking for authority to proceed with his applications. And Mr. Chair, I would move approval of that, so that we authorize him.
what are the sidebars on these grants? How many of them can go for personnel?
I can't answer that. These are mostly for capital purchase equipment.
Okay, I wanted to, the reason I asked that is a lot of times, if you have personnel involved and then the grant is for a year and
Oh, yeah.
you end up people go.
Surveying or taking a look at these, there are none that involve the hiring of personnel.
Okay. I believe you made a move to approve it.
Yes.
Okay, I'll second that.
Is that incorporated in the motion that there's no impact to the general fund?
Yes.
All
Yes.
right. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay. Item number 11, finance position.
Morning, Commissioners. Robert Paul, CFO. I'm requesting that the half-time position that I currently have funded and has not been filled the entire year, I'm requesting to make that position full-time. I have candidates available to fill that position at this point. I have funding available in my budget.
And you generally watch the budget really close, so we would know you have the funding.
And since I'm his liaison and the one most involved in having had these conversations with Robert, I'd move for approval.
I'll second.
All right, been moved and seconded. Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay. We have a new item number 12, finance. I'm not sure what it's about.
Okay, back in 2005, as part of the EOAF new building, detoxification building out by the Justice Center, grants were to be obtained for the construction. Due to some extenuating circumstances, one of the grants was not
2007.
done correctly, so then an actual loan was done to replace that funding in 2007 from the Oregon Special Public Works Fund. Under the terms of this agreement, the county is not making the repayments, another entity is. But the county is the applicant and is the one that the loan is through. It was, I think, originally a 25-year loan, is now down to about 10 years.
I believe there's 12 more payments.
And the state is indicating that now they're doing a round of possible refinancing.
Yes, the state has sent me a letter indicating that they're planning to refinance in April, and that depending on interest rates at the time of refinancing, we could save anywhere from $10,000 to $20,000 in interest costs over the remaining 12 payments. Opportunity to save some money, I would recommend that we give them the opportunity to include our loan in that refinance.
A number of questions that come to mind. GEODC messed up on this when they did this, but the agreement was we would pay up front, they would basically make the payments back to us. We're not having to make up any of the interest that's currently being charged, are we?
No, they're making the payments.
So basically, we're doing this to save Eastern Oregon, what is it still, Eastern Oregon Alcohol?
GEODC, Greater Eastern Oregon
Yeah.
Development Corporation?
Yeah,
Yes, this would basically save them money.
okay.
This is, however, consistent with the package that we've been doing the last couple of years, is it not, to readjust our debt and save interest money?
Certainly it's my goal to reduce our debt payments and eliminate them if possible.
Or eliminate, right? And this is simply another piece of that. Okay?
I would move approval.
Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay.
Thank you.
That completes our regular agenda. Other additional comments from commissioners?
I have 2 meetings immediately following this. Both are in Milton Freewater area, so one is the chamber meeting and the other one is the Walla Walla Valley MPO, which we famously are stuck with.
I have no comments.
Other than you and I are meeting with the city this
Yes,
afternoon.
we are. This morning, this afternoon, 1 o'clock.
One, I don't know, this afternoon.
Yeah.
All right, no other comments? If not, we're adjourned.
1 hour.